Hello everyone, welcome back to Pris Corner with me Pris. Hope you're okay wherever you are. Today, on What's Real or Not episodes, I am discussing another new Japanese comic/manga series titled Table for Two. The series was made by Rumi Ichinohe, which only contains 2 volumes. So this is also a short series. If you want to know more about this series, I will leave the details in the link in the description box below. And if you want to support me further, I will leave the link in the description box below as well. So, as per usual, I already concluded that this series was based by 90% real, 5% gray area, and 5% fantasy. As per usual, we'll start from the fantasy part, then move on to the gray area, and lastly on the real part. So, let's jump right in. By the way, to give it a little bit notice beforehand, this is a slice of life genre mixed with romance a bit at the end. And I advise you to take a grain of salt when reading it and not take it too personally or into your head quite literally, because I think it could be a sensitive topic for some of you, and I hope you're focused more on the slice of life thing rather than the romance part of this series. And I think that's all. Maybe you kinda don't know what I'm talking about, but you're gonna know when you're reading the series. So please be careful and enjoy your reading time. So for the fantasy part, the first thing is about the supporting cast, like in other shoujo manga series. Maybe the supporting cast is really supportive for the main couple, but not as supportive like My Sweet Neighbor series or the last series that I discussed before. I mean, there just isn't a lot of obstacle for this couple. And even like the main character's best friend or Wakaba best friend named Mio, and also the other girl named Saiki that kinda trying to get close with Kazutomo, that potentially could become an obstacle, but they just basically appeared a little bit and become a little bit obstacle, like a little mountain, and then finally basically kind of disappear and vanish. For Mio, it's understandable because she becoming Wakaba's best friend and also supporting Wakaba's and Kazutomo in a way. And I think her support is kind of still more realistic, even though she still really care about Wakaba's feeling. But she also basically keep Wakaba in check and remind her of the reality because of the age gap. I really like that from her anyway. But about the Saiki, the girl that trying to get close with Kazutomo, is kind of disappeared like that. Maybe because of like the series is only 2 volumes, so they don't have enough panels or maybe duration in order to basically prolong that. So it's understandable, but that's why I put in the fantasy part. And also for Wakaba's mother, I think even though she's supportive of Wakaba's and Kazutomo in a way, but I say just too easy. I mean, I understand because like Kazutomo is helping her in a way, trying to take care of Wakaba, but she kind of deal with herself and fix herself in a way in order to become a good mother that can take care of Wakaba. But still, I concluded that in the fantasy part because it's just too good to be true. Even though I understand the obstacle is coming from internal rather than external, but the external doesn't really do anything much to shake in the boot, it's just that. But it's okay. Move on to the gray area. I think it's more about the ending. I mean, Wakaba and Kazutomo finally become a couple at the end, which I think is possible to happen, but not very likely, especially after the rejection panel before or the rejection scene. And I wonder how basically society gonna react to this couple because their age gap is just so far away. That's why I put it in the gray area, because mostly people already at that moment and situation already thinks the other person as a family and will not move on from that. Rarely this type of thing happen, especially with the age gap that's quite a lot. But I think it's still possible to happen because if you reading the series, like I mentioned in the previous episodes, it just really tugs at your heartstring, and you can see their struggle, because they are afraid of love, afraid to receive love in a way, and how they basically manage to get over that block that they made for themselves, and trying to basically step by step learning to receive love and give and receive love also, in a way, finally become a couple too. Romantic couple. Yep, I think that's all for the gray area because I don't know what to talk anymore. Because you see, it's just so short, so I don't really have much to talk about anyway. And also because you see, it's just so tugging at my heartstrings that I don't know what to talk about anymore. So I really recommend for you to read this series anyway. So the final part is the real part of the series, which make up about 90% of the series. And I already mentioned it before in the preview and through episodes, that the series is a slice of life, and most of the scene that happening throughout reading this, it's very real for me and really relatable. Like how basically Sutomo and Wakaba sometimes becoming awkward, because they don't know each other very well, and even though they know each other very well, when the other person is kind of sad or crying, they also felt some uneasiness and awkward moments, because they basically trying to deal with it or try to react or respond to that situations because they don't know how to respond. And that's why I think it's so real, because sometimes we have those kind of moments, right, when we don't know what to do when the other person in front of us is crying. We don't know how to comfort them, even though this is also an idealist scene or an idealist representation of it. But I think most of the scene in this series is kind of relatable, feeling of kind of jealousy, feeling lonely, feeling so sad that your heart about to burst, and that's why this series kind of teach you on how to deal and how to respond in that kind of situation, how to comfort and reassuring other people, even though sometimes you think that you're not as strong as what other people think of you. Also, like their support for each other throughout the series anyway, when they try to taking care of each other, trying to be aware and sensitive towards each other's feelings, and learn to be vulnerable and openly speaking or voicing their opinions to one another, of course with sincerity and a good intention as well. And maybe you will think of that maybe you should put in the fantasy part rather than the real part, but for me, because they just live their life peacefully and not engage in a lot of bad things in the way, and that's why I think there are people like Wakaba and Kasutomo, but maybe it's just a small percentage and even rare, because mostly we're gonna be talking about feelings in the series. That's why I put a lot of percentage on the real part, because I think the feelings that being felt by our protagonist and even supporting cast and the other characters as well is the real thing and the real deal for me. That's why it has a lot or high percentage of the real part in my opinion. But feel free to disagree anyway, because this is just my opinion, maybe not the same as yours. But I also think there's a lot of things that you can take from this series, even though this series is kind of, you have to read it with a grain of salt, because this is also cover a sensitive topic because of their age gap, Kasutomo and Wakaba as well. But I think it's kind of warms your heart and give you hope that maybe there is a person like this. If you're lucky, you're gonna encounter one. But, just hope for the best anyway. Even I'm not very sure I'm gonna encounter people like that anyway. So I think that's all for the What's Real or Not episodes today. Again, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy my contents. And I'm sorry if there is wrong grammar or misinterpretation or even basically mispronunciation along the way. Hope you bear with it. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram to know what kind of contents that I'm gonna be uploading. And also don't forget to stay tuned on my KoFi page, also on any other podcast platform that you're listening. Stay safe everyone, and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.